Okay guys, this video is for your Japan notes, deals with 10C, so if you go ahead and open your packets up to that. Remember, at any point in time during these videos, if you fall behind, you can always rewatch them later, or you can pause or fast forward. Alright, so moving on, Japan. At the end, you're going to be able to know how Japan's geography influences its development, and also the influence that Chinese culture had on the development of early Japan. Alright, locations and places. First off, the Japanese archipelago is mountainous, and it's made up of 4 main islands. Alright, so it's a mountainous Japanese archipelago. It's made up of 4 islands. An archipelago, what that means, guys, in case you didn't know, is it's an island chain. Usually a name reserved to Pacific island chains. You've got the Sea of Japan and the East Sea are going to separate Japan from the Asian mainland. And it is very near to, as we've seen on our maps before, China and Korea. China and the mainland, and the Korean peninsula sticks out towards Japan. So we've got a mountainous archipelago, we've got the Sea of Japan, we've got China and Korea. Now, if you think about it for a second, we've got a very isolated area. It's going to be set away from people. They're going to have to get on boats to sail, so they're going to be able to develop a little bit isolated, kind of like how Rome developed isolated from Eastern powers. So there will be Chinese influences and Korean influences, but there's not going to be a threat of invasion. And the other thing, remember, we've talked about mountainous areas before, about how a mountainous geography impacts the development of people. One of the main things to remember when we've said mountainous, we've talked about Greece and we've talked about the Incans. Now, the Greeks developed in small little city-states because there wasn't a whole lot of successful farmland or places where they could farm, and then they had to colonize. The Incans came up with a different plan, which was to cut little terraces into the side of mountains. Now, the Japanese have the benefit of, because they're an archipelago, an island chain, while they are mountainous, what it would mean is it would drive their diet to, instead of being crops, generally it's going to be seafood, a lot of fish, and that's where we get our fresh fish from, and things like sushi. Alright, as you can see here, we have China, this is Korea, we've got our Japanese home islands, the Sea of Japan, North Pacific Ocean, the Philippine Sea, and as you can see, it's isolated a little bit there. Now, there are 3 main influences that we're going to see of Chinese culture, things that they have that are similar. Their writing is going to be similar, their architecture, and then Buddhism. Now, we've talked about Buddhism going to be a commonality between the two of them already, so we should be aware of that. But the writing, the architecture, these influences are all going to be very similar. And let's like a couple examples of them here. Alright, as you can see, we have Chinese writing, we have characters to represent words. We're going to have a very similar system in Japan. While there are different characters representing different words, the idea is the same. So similar, if you want to say alphabets, you could. We have characters. Alright, Chinese architecture versus Japanese architecture. And you also have similar building materials in both places. They're, generally speaking, a little bit of a warmer climate. You've got lightweight building materials, paper walls, a lot of wood, not a lot of heavy stone and things like that. As you can see with the arches and the roofs, very, very, very similar. And then, as we've said before, the Buddhist influence. Now, Shinto is the final religion that we are going to talk about this year. It's our final new religion. Shinto is an ethnic religion that is unique to Japan. Alright, it places an importance on natural features, forces of nature, and ancestor worship. And it's the state religion in which they worship the emperor as almost like a human god. Almost a human god, not actually like a human god, but close. So they hold the emperor to be holy, and they would do anything to defend him. And a lot of times when you think of Shinto, the best example would be samurais. Alright? Um, so now, if you want to talk about it, has a coexistence with Buddhism, but here we want to see Chinese influence. Remember we've said Chinese influence, all right? So Chinese influence is down here. I'm going to throw this for you guys to see, all right? Things that are common with Chinese religions. Now remember, China wasn't just Buddhist. We also had Confucianism and we had Taoism, all right? Confucianism placed an importance on ancestor worship. And then there was another religion there, Taoism, which was going to place importance on natural features, being one with nature, forces of nature. All right, so we have Chinese influences in the development of Shinto. It's a blending of all of it. Okay? Hopefully that is clear to you guys. All right, and then a couple of questions here for you. Number one, according to the map, what conclusion can be drawn about China in the time of Zheng He? All right, China's advanced technology let sailors undertake long voyages, maybe. Chinese rarely went far from their own region. I would say that one's not the case. He ended up in Mecca, so it's not B. C, for Chinese sailors, navigation was still a mystery. I would tend to think navigation is not a mystery. He lands in Calcutta multiple times, so he seems to have figured out how to get there. And then Chinese sailors needed to stay within sight of the coast. I'm pretty sure when you're here, you're not within sight of the coast. So your best answer there is A, guys. All right. Now, 2, why was Zheng He sent on the voyages shown on this map? Now, this might be something we not have picked up yet, but why don't we think about it for a second? Was it to set up colonies that would ease overcrowding in China? Well, is he stopping and staying in any of these places, or is he continuing on to other places? Well, he's continuing on, so it's not going to be to make colonies. To discover a faster route to Europe, that could be possible. Hold on to that thought. To explore new lands and gain more tribute-paying states, also possible. J, to identify potentially hostile regions. I don't really think that one would be the case either. Alright, so discover a faster route to Europe or explore new lands and gain more tribute-paying states. If he's going with just one ship, he's not going to be able to force people to pay tribute to the Chinese crown. So I think the best one here would be G. The other thing that would help you that too is that 1405 to 1433 time period you see up there at the top, guys. That's going to tell you that this is during one of the heights of trade between all of those places, between China and all along the Indian Ocean. Europe has started to creep into the Renaissance at that time, so it's going to be trying to find ways to get goods from China to Europe and back faster. As you can see, he keeps trying to get up towards Europe here on those travel routes. All right, next set, and there's your map. I'm going to go ahead and label it for you, but make sure you have it labeled. Obviously, that's Japan. The Sea of Japan. This peninsula here would be Korea. The Pacific Ocean is to this side. And then lastly, this is China here. Yeah, can't spell. This is the very northern portion of China up here. This is actually Russia. Alright, just so you guys are aware of where they are. And that's going to be all for this video, guys.